Alex Albon, he thought he might be able to breeze past the Haas. That certainly isn't happening, and he locked up a little bit going into the chicane as well. As Romain Grosjean gets past Robert Kubica and up into 15th place, the Williams starting to drop back a bit. No investigation necessary, say the stewards. In the incident involving Alex Albon and Carlos Sainz, they've decided that's a racing incident. And here we are at the start once again. Pierre Gasly just ahead of Max Verstappen, as you said, Martin, was hanging back, being cautious.
Yeah, Max was being extremely cautious. And then just suddenly, I think he got a whack. He got a whack up the back, didn't he?
I'm not sure. I think they slowed down, and his closing speed was a bit more, I think, than he actually felt was going to be happening.
Yeah.
Oh, there's Sebastian Vettel, and he spun. And he's coming onto the track just as Lance Stroll goes past him as well. And there's anxious faces now on the look of the Tifosi. He must have hit Stroll, and Stroll now comes back onto the track, and Pierre Gasly in the Toro Rosso has to go wide, all down at the Ascari chicane.
Both of those against the regulations, rejoining the track in an unsafe manner.
And look at now, Sebastian Vettel, big damage on his front wing, limping into the pits.
I think I have damage, the front left.
You do have damage, I'm afraid, Sebastian Vettel. Past him goes Perez and Stroll.
He was just right getting on the tail of Valtteri Bottas, so whether there was contact between the two or whether Vettel just ran out of space, then ran out of talent, I don't know.
Second year in a row, Sebastian Vettel's Italian Grand Prix has sent him into a spin. Last year, it was after tangling with Lewis Hamilton on the opening lap. This time at the Ascari chicane, he goes into a spin. Was there contact? We'll find out. Hard compound tyres going on, Ted Kravitz.
Well, it's just trying to get something from Sebastian Vettel's race as Charles Leclerc, a young upstart teammate, serenely at the front, the team leader, having an absolute mare down here. And actually at Racing Point, it's Lance Stroll's race ruined as well. He was properly sent around. You'll see the replay in a minute, Crofty. Lots of damage on the Racing Point, and he's going to pit now as well.
Right, so that's Sebastian Vettel spinning all on his own. Comes back under the track. Oh, dear, oh, dear. Now, he might not have seen Stroll, but I don't know if he was looking to see who was coming through.
They just dropped it.
Just came back on the circuit like an idiot.
And I'm sorry, I can't disagree with Lance Stroll's comments there. That is not what you expect from a man as experienced as Sebastian Vettel.
We saw him last year light the rear tyres up in frustration, but then Lance did the same then to a Toro Rosso. Here
Absolutely.
we go.
And if Lance Stroll's going to dish out that, he might have to take a bit back from Pierre Gasly as well. So there's, that's poor.
Stroll did his absolute best to get around the outside of that. So I'm pretty sure Vettel will take a penalty for that. And, well, what goes around comes around.
Yeah, I think by the same token, I think Lance Stroll might be due on as well. Now, with these cockpits, Martin, with the increased protection around the side, it's very difficult for the drivers to see over them. But the stewards are looking at Sebastian Vettel for returning to the track in an unsafe manner. Romain Grosjean has now pitted. The medium tyres go on for him, and he's back out with only with Sebastian Vettel just ahead of him. Grosjean's had a spin as well, and he continued on his way on the exit of the Ascari chicane.
Verstappen 39.5 seconds off the lead. He's taken a half a second off out of the leader, but he's now getting towards the back of the pack. His progress will slow.
Lewis Hamilton catching Charles Leclerc 2/10 on the last lap. So you see Lance Stroll going through, and that is how Romain Grosjean did it. Is it that tricky on the exit of the Ascari chicane there, where we saw Vettel a little bit earlier in this corner?
Be a lot of gravel around there about now. It just put too much. You got a lot of throttle on. You do ask a lot of the car laterally.
Yeah.
And you'll not spin there too often without smashing it into the barrier.
And we can see now Alex Albon at the De La Roggia chicane, going for a move on Kevin Magnussen. Now he comes out ahead, but he's definitely missed the apex there. And he is still ahead of Kevin Magnussen with Danny Kvyat, the car now in between the pair of them.
So Lewis was pushing it hard, wasn't he, on the exit of the second Lesmo there?
Looks like he's struggling a little bit.
Might be struggling a bit, but he's just pulled out a couple of tenths in the first sector, which means Hamilton's now not in DRS range. We should... sorry, Martin.
Yeah, Leclerc's just 21 years old. We know how strong his head is. He's staying on the right-hand side down there, because it's their right, of course, because it's less bumpy. It can get very bumpy down the middle of that straight. That's why I think Leclerc, and also trying to break the toe, break the slipstream as well, that he's helpfully giving both Mercedes. Anthony, what can you tell us?
Hamilton is saying that he's feeling good in the car, but he's managing the rear tyres, and that's why he's not really catching the leader at the moment. He's biding his time, he's looking after the rear tyres, but they have lost, interestingly, they've lost GPS tracking on his car.
Oh. Well, we've got it up here in the commentary box.
Yeah, we know where he is.
Yeah, fine. He's second at the moment. He's just gone through the Curve Grande behind Charles Leclerc and ahead of his teammate Valtteri Bottas.
So what are the ramifications of losing GPS, Anthony? What other tools have they lost then at that point, would you say?
Well, it could come into strategy when you're looking for when to pit the cars, and it's that when it comes down to that critical time. So I'm guessing that's what they're kind of suggesting by that comment.
Robert Kubica is overtaken by his teammates George Russell. The Williams scrapping for 16th place, and the stewards have noted that Alex Albon missed the apex of the De La Roggia chicane when he got past Kevin Magnussen, who's now got Sergio Perez on his tail.
Yeah, if they think that Albon effectively completed the overtake whilst off the track, they might ask him to give that back, give that place back, which will be quite a problem for him. Because Perez is right in there as well, isn't he?
He's also got Danny Kvyat in between Albon and Perez, Magnussen now as well.
Let's go down to Teddy Kravitz.
So a couple of things from down here, Martin. First of all, Lance Stroll's front wing is damaged, as you might expect. They don't want to ruin their strategy as well as ruining everything else on their day. So they're probably going to change his nose at his one and only pit stop. And, well, hasn't Sebastian Vettel just opened the door for Mercedes now to gang up on Charles Leclerc strategically without the benefit of a rear gunner? And I can imagine James Vowles, the strategist on the Mercedes pit wall, is thinking, haha, I'm going to get him now. I'll be able to do one thing with another, maybe an early stop for Bottas, one thing with Hamilton, and they'll get them. So this hands such a strategic advantage to Mercedes. But notwithstanding that GPS loss, Crofty, what do you think it says? After the Ascari corner, turn left. That might help.
Yeah.
Reboot it.
Yes, reboot it. It'll be absolutely fine.
Or if you're Sebastian Vettel, make a U-turn at the first opportunity.
Perez is having a go at Kevin Magnussen on the run down to the De La Roggia chicane. This could end a bit messily as the two drivers almost wheel to wheel going through. Magnussen trying to defend well, pushes Perez towards the edge of the track there in defence, but he's definitely struggling out of these slow chicanes, Magnussen, to get some traction, and frustrating the Mexican in the racing point at the moment. His teammate Lance Stroll right behind him, just joining the race. Stroll was going along quite nicely, then Sebastian Vettel spun at the Ascari chicane, came back onto the track and caused a spin for Stroll as well. Had to take evasive action, then Stroll came back onto the track and forced Pierre Gasly onto the gravel, and the stewards having a look at it at the moment.
And Stroll's got reasonable pace, so I can't see they'll necessarily, unless they think it's dangerous. You don't want your front wing tucking underneath your front tyres here under braking, but they don't think it's dangerous, structurally sound enough. I don't see that they'll want to lose a dozen seconds at the pit stop. I'll have a good look at it.
Absolutely. They might want to, if he continues to get that much closer to his teammates, swap Stroll and Perez around as well, because they're on different tyres and different strategies. 1.1 seconds was the difference at the end of the last lap between Leclerc and Hamilton. It's near enough 1.3 seconds at the moment. He's doing well, Charles Leclerc, to keep out of DRS threat from the Mercedes.
Yeah, it's tantalisingly close now, isn't it? What a duel this looks like. Again, as you say, it's 2v1.
Right, Sebastian Vettel has just been given a 10-second stop-go penalty for returning to the track in an unsafe manner. There are 4 penalties the stewards can give, that the common penalties, 5-second, a 10-second, a drive-through and a stop-go penalty, of which the stop-go, Martin, is the most severe. And Sebastian Vettel's Italian Grand Prix has gone from average to bad to horrible.
That's a half-a-minute penalty they've just given him there. And that'll put him last, plumb last. He's penultimate, in the penultimate place, as you can see for yourselves on the left-hand side. That's a no-brainer. That's all they could do there, isn't it? That's
I totally agree.
You know, slam dunk. It was me, officer.
And Charles, at the moment we are thinking plan B.
To stay out a little bit longer, maybe because your tyres are okay. Do hope Sebastian Vettel doesn't protest over the radio when they tell him he's got that penalty. Not quite sure what his defence would be on that one. Apologies if you're a Sebastian Vettel fan, but you can't have drivers doing that. You can understand it in the heat of the moment, Martin. You know, he's desperate to get back on the track. He's just made a mistake, another mistake, all by himself, but you can't be doing
frustration there. Remember, he lit the rear tyres up when he spun last year. He's just about got beat. He's lucky to get off that. They're also investigating Raikkonen for starting on incorrect tyres. But we'll have to look at the angle of that, because with a hand device on and the headrests, you cannot turn your head. You cannot turn and have a look. So if you can't see somebody in your mirrors, you don't necessarily know where anybody is. But the position he was at the front of the field, close to the start of the race, somebody was going to be there.
Well, this is it. You're relying on your team to say, yeah, hold on, Sebastian, hold on. And relying on your years of experience, as you say, Martin, to know that at that stage of the race, the field are going to be fairly close together and there's not going to be a massive gap to get back onto the track again.
Yeah, and the more I think about that, the more I realise Vettel had no ability to have a look, because his mirrors would have been looking at the barriers in the middle of the runoff area, and you cannot turn your head. It's impossible.
But that he's done his 10-second stop-go penalty. But if you can't see, you don't just go blindly onto the track.
You wait for a marshal to wave you on or something, but then his race would effectively be over anyway, so maybe it was worth the risk, and hope that whoever was coming along went behind him and not in front of him.
Yeah. On board with Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen, in all the time we've been talking about others on the track, has made his way up to 16th at the moment.
Oh, I get this problem again, that I lost power out of turn 2.
Okay, power is coming back. Just watch, well, you know what to watch.
And is this a mapping issue that they've got with losing power out of turn 2? It's...
Yeah, don't know. They don't seem to know, do they, Crofty? Because they've been trying to chase it for a couple of days. You know what I think Raikkonen had done on Raikkonen? Because he started from the pit lane. They started him on what they thought were optimum tyres. He was inside the top 10 yesterday, wasn't he? He was required to start the race on his Q2 tyres. So I suspect that's what's going on there. Maybe Alfa Romeo thought that as they started from the pit lane, all bets are off. They can run what they like.
Drive-through penalty for Lance Stroll for rejoining the track in an unsafe manner, and I don't think there could be too many complaints on that one either.
So that's about 20 seconds then it's cost him. He hasn't got to stop for 10 seconds. They obviously thought that what Vettel did was worse than what Stroll did, because he caused Stroll's incident in the first place.
Alex Albon on Antonio Giovinazzi. Alex Albon is up into 7th place now after losing a couple of places in the early part of this race, and this is Max Verstappen making a move on Kimi Raikkonen down the straight. These two have made plenty of moves in the past when Kimi was a Ferrari driver, and it's Max Verstappen that comes out on top and moves himself up then into 15th place. It looks fairly easy with the DRS assistance that he was getting. So Kimi Raikkonen under investigation for starting the race on incorrect tyres. Lance Stroll will get a drive-through penalty. Sebastian Vettel has served his penalty, and Charles Leclerc still continues to lead, but now by 1.5 seconds out in front.
Good chance today for some of the midfielders to grab some championship points. For example, Giovinazzi's right up there, Kvyat Magnussen. We could see a few surprise results today.
Giovinazzi, of course, who was on for a decent points finish in Spa until he dropped it at Pouhon on the last lap, and rather ruined all of his good work before.
So another 5 or 6 laps and the window will start opening up for the top 3 to make a pit stop without being back in the pack.
Yes, the Renault pair of Ricciardo and Hulkenberg doing a very good job to try and have that gap a little bit sooner as well, should the top 3 want it. You can bet your bottom dollar, Ted Kravitz, that Mercedes will be thinking, right, which one of our drivers can we bring in early to try and unsettle Ferrari a bit?
Well, let's play the strategy game. What would you do as Lance Stroll comes through to serve his drive-through penalty? I think I'd probably undercut with Hamilton and then overcut with Bottas. Or the other one, or the other way around. Both might actually... Bottas is doing great lap times, isn't he? just to be 1.7 seconds behind Hamilton. So Bottas has got speed there. Oh,
we're just seeing a replay of why Lance Stroll got his drive-through penalty. Oh, and they're coming out into the pit lane at Mercedes for a set of hard compound tyre.
To go to the end, okay, so that's not great for an undercut. Just quickly on Max Verstappen, he could go to the end, but that tyre's only meant to do 30 laps. After that starts to overheat and go off, and he would have to do 50 laps on that to get to the end, more or less.
He's now starting to, they're going back in at Mercedes. We've never seen this before, have we?
I thought we were done with the engineer-led games after yesterday.
No, they're back for a bit more.
You're not allowed to come out into the pit lane and risk your people unless you have a genuine intention of pitting at the time.
He's quicker than us.
He's quicker than us, did he say?
Quicker than us, yeah.
If Ferrari can manage and Leclerc can manage to win this one, it'll be quite some victory, wouldn't it? Because Mercedes can play any number of hands there behind him.
I think Lewis Hamilton was a little bit faster than Charles Leclerc on that last lap. But down the main straight, Leclerc seems to have a much bigger speed advantage. And Mercedes need DRS, and they're not getting within range to do that at the moment. On board, Perez running just outside the points at the moment in 11th. He's had a fairly eventful race. He's got Kevin Magnussen now in his sights. Going to keep running Charles Leclerc, I think, a little bit longer than they first thought. Ferrari plan B.
You don't have the transmissions coming out of these chicanes when they run wide on the curve. Somewhere like this also, second Esmo putting maximum torque demand through the, obviously just rear-wheel drive. You can hear the whole oscillation in the transmission going on some, especially out of the second chicane, where they've been struggling for grip. Yeah, it's not flat, is it? It's not flat out through there. Flat out through the exit, but not through the middle. They're running such skinny wings, such little downforce. There is a crosswind through the Ascari chicane today, but only a metre 0.4 per second.
Alex Albon has a penalty. If you remember his move on Kevin Magnussen, where he got ahead of Kevin Magnussen and then went off the track and stayed ahead of Kevin Magnussen. Well, the steward said that gained a lasting advantage that you shouldn't really have had. So there's a 5-second penalty for Alex Albon, who hasn't pitted yet. Means then, as there is the Red Bull of Max Verstappen making a move on Pierre Gasly, and Gasly didn't put up too much of a fight against his former teammate there, and Verstappen puts himself up into 13th. Means that Alex Albon will stay stationary for 5 seconds before they change tyres at the next pit stop, and I'm not overly surprised by that penalty either.
No, I'm not at all surprised. In fact, it's quite lenient in a way.
Rears are dropping off, man. You cannot overcut him.
Overcut him. If he comes in, Lewis doesn't want to keep running longer. But no, sometimes, often we've heard drivers having to give the place back, haven't we? But Albon is now 2 spots ahead of Magnussen.
Yeah, that was the trouble from pretty much straight away, because Kevin Magnussen kind of had to back as Albon rejoined the track, and then Danny Kvyat and rather made it a little bit complicated just to do a little swap. We have live data powered by AWS saying that the pit window is open for those soft compound tyre runners on the one-stop strategy, Ted Kravitz.
Go from soft to medium, so any earlier you'd have to put the hard tyre on. That's why Mercedes guys out in the pit lane with that hard tyre, with the white stripe, which is as hard as concrete round here. It's pretty hard for this track. But from now on, from 19 to 29, pit window is open. Don't go making cups of tea, anybody. This is where it's about to get interesting.
Yeah, and looking at the way Ferrari was moving on the exit of second Lesmo, they had to really scoop it up. An armful of oversteer, the back sliding. It looks to me like Ferrari is getting ready to have a new set of tyres.
The question is, have we had enough penalties for this race? The answer is obviously not. Kimi Raikkonen now has a 10-second stop-go penalty for starting the race on incorrect tyres. Rather inclined to agree with you here, Martin. He got through to Q3 yesterday and normally would start on the same set of tyres. He said his fastest in Q2 on.
Hamilton pits.
Rear tyres. Rear tyres.
Yes.
Right, so Ferrari, they say the rear tyres are going. They're trying the undercut here. And Mercedes have been very, very good at predicting Ferrari's tyre life in recent races.
So I don't know when he called in to say rear tyres. We saw it down at second Lesmo, didn't we? And now I think this is going to give Lewis Hamilton a great chance of taking the lead of this Grand Prix.
It's a decent stop as well by the Mercedes of Carlos Sainz. To go back to Kimi Raikkonen, he should have started on the soft compound tyre, but because he started from the pit lane, they decided at Alpha to put him on the medium compound, and obviously thought they could do that because he was now starting from the pit lane. They made a lot of changes. Might be the regulations say, no, you've still got the start on that set of tyres.
Well, you don't want to be doing that, Lewis. Got to get those tyres to the end of the Grand Prix. Big lock-up, pushing on his out.
It shows how hard he's pushing, it really does. 25-second gap to the leader, Charles Leclerc. His last lap was a 1:25.2. I wonder how much slower he might go on this particular lap as Kimi Raikkonen serves his 10-second stop-go penalty, and away he goes. 10.5 seconds. He was a stationary 4. Kimi rejoins the race right at the rear. Now,
here's the moment in the race, Crofty.
It is. Leclerc comes in. Where's heading down the back straight towards the parabolica. Hard compound tyres go on down at Ferrari. Hamilton's going through the parabolica now. 80 kilometers an hour. Charles Leclerc and his Ferrari trundles down the pit lane. Lewis Hamilton crosses the line to complete his lap. He's at full pace as the Renault of Ricciardo, and then Hulkenberg goes through, and there is Lewis Hamilton. And they have just got out ahead down at Ferrari, but Hamilton on medium compound tyre against the hard compound tyre of Leclerc might just have an advantage on this lap. Hamilton's tyres are warmed up, Leclerc's are cold and getting warmer, but when do they get up to the optimum temperature? That is what Charles Leclerc is hoping will happen very soon.
So Lewis will be much more confident in the braking zones. He's up to speed on these fresh tyres. Fuel load always coming down, of course, as the laps unravel. But good work there from Ferrari. They've a completely different concept of how to run this race. They've gone on to the hard tyre.
Lewis Hamilton will be in DRS range when they next go through the activation zone. This is a clear indication that Ferrari don't think those mediums are going to last enough to get to the end of the race, and they've got to go for something a bit more sturdy, and Mercedes think that they can go on the mediums, and it might just make sure they're okay. If Mercedes are wrong, Leclerc, if he gets overtaken, could come back at the end of the race.
And Lewis Hamilton is going to get DRS down the pit straight. So Leclerc needs his batteries fully charged and ready to defend with them.
Here we go then. Lewis Hamilton in hot pursuit of Charles Leclerc, and look how he's gaining out of the parabolica, and now the DRS will open wide for Lewis Hamilton. Ahead of them is Nico Hulkenberg. The race leader was Charles Leclerc. He's been ahead of Lewis Hamilton all the way through, and he stays ahead going into the chicane.
Leclerc getting a handy slipstream there from the Renault, just what he needed. But it's for position, of course, in the race. Hulkenberg is ahead of Leclerc and Hamilton at the moment because he hasn't pit stopped, so he doesn't have to get out of the way at all.
Running inside the top 3, Bottas leads from Daniel Ricciardo and Nico Hulkenberg. Then comes Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton, and that could be the battle for the eventual race winner that we're seeing here. That's not discounting out Bottas at all. The overcut might just work, you never know. Onwards towards the Ascari chicane we go. And Charles Leclerc has got DRS because he's now
pushing hard. Leclerc now. This could play in our hands, so keep pushing hard.
Now he's got DRS because he's behind the Renault and they're challenging for position, and that's keeping him ahead of Lewis Hamilton. Bottas being urged to push hard by his race engineer, and Hamilton now getting a really good slipstream from behind 2 cars down that back straight. Leclerc to the parabolica, wants to overtake the Renault of Nico Hulkenberg. That is not the easiest thing to do on the inside of the parabolica. Hulkenberg allows it to go past. Now Lewis Hamilton's getting a slipstream from behind the Renault and behind the Ferrari as well. But Leclerc has got DRS again because he went through the detection zone behind the Renault. Hamilton now pulls out to have a go at Leclerc. Leclerc stays ahead by about a car length and a half. This is brilliant racing.
Very smart positioning of his car there from Charles Leclerc. He did, as you say, get some DRS.
He's going for it again, Lewis Hamilton. Got a great exit out of the chicane. Round the curve, a grande they go. Isn't a grande move from Lewis Hamilton towards the Della Roggia chicane. Leclerc's on the inside. Hamilton goes on to the and you can hear the cheers from Monza all the way back to Stevenage. The Ferrari fans loved it.
Yeah, they'll be looking at that just to see if Leclerc squeezed him wide. Lewis will be on the phone complaining about that. I wouldn't be at all surprised. These two are flying, so it's not, the overcut's not working for Bottas.
He didn't leave me a car's width there, pushed me off.
Can't argue with that.
The Ferrari fans cheering Charles Leclerc through the Ascari chicane. Whatever anyone else might think of this move, the home tifosi absolutely loved it. Was there enough cars width there? No. But was he moving to take the racing line, and was he allowed to do so because he was still ahead?
That's a tough call from the stewards. He was preparing for the corner. It wasn't like he defended then moved a second time, but that's a tough one.
He has been shown the black and white flag. Get you a couple of seconds. Yeah, go for it now, Martin.
Well, that means your driving is not acceptable, but that means you're not going to get a penalty.
Yeah.
That means do that again. So he's been led off reasonably lightly on that one, but that was a tough call, I must say.
It's a warning. It's like a yellow card. Do it again, and then we'll start taking action. And is that then Charles Leclerc nullifying the threat of Lewis Hamilton for a while?
Black and white. Black and white flag. No action at the moment.
Why?
Lewis Hamilton going off onto the gravel. Not a car's width there. Leclerc was slightly ahead. There are the stewards. Gary Connolly on the right-hand side. Derek Warwick, of course, on the left-hand side. Two of the four members of the stewarding team. They have all the camera angles. They have all the data. They've got the rule books and a lot of experience and knowledge. They decided on this occasion a warning was sufficient, not a penalty.
And again, Leclerc positioned his car go to the left off the exit of Curva Grande, forcing Lewis the long way round, but those hard times at the moment, do they, on the Ferrari? But Lewis can't help but sense in this second phase of the race, and he's got DRS as well now, that the Mercedes hands is a little bit faster.
Charles Leclerc has just set the fastest lap of the race. Compound tyres as well. Valtteri Bottas leads his gap.
Super fast on the straights.
He was about 6-7 miles an hour faster in the Ferrari on the straights yesterday.
And you want to be about, was it 20 kilometres an hour? I'll put that into miles an hour for you. Faster on the straight to make it overtake move 12 miles an hour.
And of course this again is the position with Ricciardo, who hasn't stopped and is running second. Bottas hasn't stopped either and leads the Grand Prix, but Bottas is only 18.5 seconds ahead of Leclerc. Not enough. A pit stop takes somewhere around 22 or 23 seconds.
Ted, down to you.
Just to explain the difference in strategy, do you remember, Crofty, back to Friday? Seems ages ago now, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The Ferrari was actually not great. Much worse than the Mercedes on the long runs on that yellow medium tyre. So it's all they could do, really. They knew that their pace wasn't great on long runs compared to Mercedes. So they had to go with a hard tyre. What's going on now?
Now, this could be interesting because Daniel Ricciardo doing a stout job of defending second place here. And Charles Leclerc is right on the rear wing of that Renault. Now, he's going to get DRS, as is Lewis Hamilton as well. But I think it's allowed Hamilton to get that little bit closer to Charles Leclerc as they head now down towards the first chicane. Leclerc gets past Ricciardo. Hamilton is going to have to get a good exit out of this chicane to try and keep tabs with Charles Leclerc. The Ferrari is going to get a little bit further away from him through the Curva Grande. Hamilton switches to the inside and he goes wheel to wheel now with Daniel Ricciardo. Has been on these tyres right from the opening gambit, and he can't put up as much of a defence as Leclerc did at this very spot 3 laps ago.
Yeah, Ricciardo didn't have the pace. He had to go around the outside, more metres, and that's not his fight. There's no point in Daniel losing time to Lewis there. It's not his fight this afternoon. His race is with his teammate Hulkenberg.
Yep, it was the same with Nico Hulkenberg as well, who fought but didn't fight too much when Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton came their way a few laps ago. So, 3 cars blasting down the main straight at Monza, and the red one getting past the yellow one, with the silver one having to tuck behind. That's pretty much what the Tifosi would like to see more often than not here in Monza. Valtteri Bottas leads the race though for Mercedes, but he hasn't stopped yet in this race. Daniel Ricciardo was running second, he's now running fourth. Charles Leclerc runs second and has set another fastest lap. Lewis Hamilton though is sticking with him and is still within DRS range, and the longer he keeps within DRS range, Martin, the more chance he's going to give himself to try and get past the Scarlet Red.
They're doing 215 miles an hour as they're ducking and diving into the braking zone at the end of the pit straight. 345 kilometers per hour.
So behind Ricciardo and Hülkenberg, fourth and fifth, Carlos Sainz runs sixth, Danny Kvyat runs seventh. Alex Albon, as you can see, is in the pits and had to serve a 5-second penalty for leaving the track and gaining a lasting advantage. So he now drops behind Sergio Perez and Max Verstappen, who's up into ninth. His teammate and Pierre Gasly, the Toro Rosso driver now, Albon in 11th, just ahead of Antonio Giovinazzi. But just to confirm, Gasly hasn't pitted, neither has Perez, neither has Kvyat, Ricciardo or Hülkenberg.
Maturity from this 21-year-old in the lead. What pressure he's soaking up.
It's hard to keep up with him.
Just keep doing what you're doing.
Valtteri Bottas is coming into the pits. I can see Mercedes crew, there they are, waiting for him. Off go the soft tyres, on go the medium tyres. We're on lap 28 of 53. Valtteri Bottas will be fine with tyre wear now for the rest of this race. And he's 2.3 seconds stationary stop has gained him a bit of time as well. Comes out into the race, should be behind Ricciardo and ahead of Hülkenberg. It is.
Different tyres for Bottas, mediums to Leclerc, but they'll be 7 laps younger.
Yeah.
Now, we're not seeing, as we pointed out at the beginning of the race, such degradation, such fall away from these tyres, but nonetheless that could come in very handy for Valtteri Bottas.
In the short term, he's lost out. The 3.2 second gap between Leclerc and Bottas when the pit stop started has now extended, but you're saying by the end of the race he might be a much faster pace than Charles Leclerc, and it could play into his hands. You don't know. Oh, Ted, Carlos Sainz has left the pit.
Yeah, it's a loose wheel. They had a problem with it. They had a problem with it in the pit stop. They took it off, put it on, took it off again, and then put it on again. And that is such a shame. That's a race retirement. They have to stop, otherwise they would have been disqualified for Carlos Sainz. And he was in a fight. Let's see if there's a safety car. Everyone getting ready down here. He was in a fight with Nico Hülkenberg for P6, P5, P6. Let's let Hülkenberg off the hook on that one.
Yeah, the problem with the wheel gun there. He stopped, he started, and he went, and by the time he'd gone, the realisation was there that wheel was not on properly. For the second weekend running, Carlos Sainz retires from a Grand Prix through no fault of his own. And now the car is parked. There is a virtual safety car being deployed. As I say, the car parked at the pit lane exit.
Yeah, and it's a position there. What's going on here?
Well, Lewis Hamilton, little bit,
to overtake, but it looks as if.
Well, Leclerc had slowed right down, and Hamilton was a bit late to react.
Yeah, but they've got to keep to a minimum time of arrival at the next point. So it's quite complex. It looked like they were busy trying to work it out, the pair of them, weren't they? So it's a very vulnerable place there if cars were to make contact down the pit straight. So anything they can do. They can't put marshals out there on a live track.
Danny Kvyat hadn't pitted, came into the pits during the virtual safety. And I wonder how that might help his race. Sergio Perez, Pierre Gasly doing the same thing.
Bottas had just pitted, so he's lost, and he'll be cursing that. So had Verstappen as well, because it's a cheap stop while the others are going around at limited speed. You're losing less time in the pit stop.
Right, virtual safety car gone. Carlos Sainz's McLaren, first car to retire from this race, gone from the side of the track, and Leclerc and Hamilton gone down that back straight. Look who's going into the Parabolica, Sebastian Vettel. He's in his teammate Charles Leclerc has Hamilton now right on his tail, and the tyre warm-up issues are coming back again for Charles Leclerc here, because he's on the hard tyre. They will have been colder and take longer to warm up than Hamilton's mediums, and Hamilton getting a great exit out, and he is gaining definitely on the Ferrari in front. That long main straight sees Hamilton really going for it here. Can he ahead? No, he can't.
So DRS was enabled immediately after the virtual safety car went in.
Bottas has got past Daniel Ricciardo and up in Danny Kvyat is in 6th at the moment as Nico Hülkenberg comes into the pits. That pit stop behind the virtual safety car might really help Kvyat here. He was 11 seconds behind Hülkenberg. Carlos Sainz pulled to the side.
Can Vettel hold Hamilton up for the second consecutive weekend and playing team's hands?
Well,
they're catching him at the moment. Well, they're behind it that way.
He hasn't got as much opportunity this week because when Hamilton and Leclerc do get up to him, Martin doing it to lap it.
Yes.
So we'll have the blue flags waved at him, but I am sure if there's any way that he can play the team game, Leclerc, Sebastian Vettel will do that. Bottas is absolutely flying at the moment. Now he's got past Daniel Ricciardo and he's 6.5 seconds off the race leader. Charles Leclerc, who's led another Grand Prix after doing so well. That is Danny Kvyat, who just pitted before, and he is out of the race. And I wonder if that's smoke from his Honda engine or because the brakes are over. Just past the exit of the first chicane, the Toro Rosso is stranded and we've got another virtual safety car.
Anything they can do there again, if a car has a braking issue in that first chicane, they'll arrive on the scene where that car is stranded.
And so they'll take the opportunity down at Renault to pit Danny Ricciardo. Opportunity at Haas to pit Romain Grosjean as well. That's wretched luck there for Danny Kvyat. So 21 seconds you'd normally lose for a pit stop, Martin. You can gain 6 seconds in the PSC.
Yeah, and I tell you who's really working this nicely because he just put in a stonking out of the pits. His first flying lap was Valtteri Bottas.
Yeah,
and he's brought himself, quite nicely back into play. Fresh medium tyres.
Engine problem it was for Danny Kvyat, so I'm told, and Toro Rosso is being pushed away. Carlos Sainz is the 2 retirements in this race so far. It's about par for the course for here at Monza in 2012 to 2015 and 2017. We only had 2 retirements. This was his pit stop and soft tyres going on. The first virtual safety car. There was a bit of smoke there as he left the pit lane.
That was already unhappy, wasn't it? And often you get just a little bit extra heat as you're sitting there waiting. Service in the pit lane.
Oh, it doesn't sound good. Oh dear. That's Danny Kvyat out of the race. And we're racing again. Pierre Gasly just ahead of Max Verstappen. It's the battle for 11th place. Lando Norris, the car just ahead of them. Charles Leclerc has got Lewis Hamilton right on his tail again as they head towards the first chicane. There goes Perez and Magnussen, and there is Lando Norris staying ahead of Pierre Gasly, but only just. Franz Tost is the team boss at Toro Rosso. He's with us this weekend. Franz, can you tell us anything about Danny Kvyat's retirement from the race?
As it looks like it's an oil leak, but we don't know more details.
Such a shame because he was in a really happy position there to score some good points.
Well, he was in this position. We just changed the tires to the option. Everything would have worked well, but unfortunately happened and therefore we had to stop the car.
Meanwhile, Pierre Gasly having to defend against Max Verstappen. I get the feeling that this is personal and he might want to make this last as long as he can.
Yeah, Max Verstappen is not a problem. He should overtake the car in front of him.
I think he's going to do that. Thanks ever so much indeed, Franz. Might not be the Toro Rosso problem, but Pierre Gasly still going wheel to wheel with Max Verstappen. Verstappen not streaking ahead, he's got the inside line. And Pierre left it there for him into the chicane. Verstappen up into 11th place.
You could see the drag kick in there. Just couldn't gather any further speed. Hamilton ever closer then with the DRS, and Leclerc desperately trying to break that turn. Now you can see him harvesting electrical energy into the battery when those rear lights flashes to give the driver behind a wheel. The driver in front of you is still full throttle, but the car will go as they're harvesting power.
It's not a barbecue in the background. That's still coming from the Toro Rosso as Leclerc heads the De La Roggia chicane. Sebastian Vettel behind the Williams of George Russell.
Vettel will be getting blue flags shortly to let the leaders through. What kind of games is he going to play, prepared to play, able to play in this fight between Leclerc and Hamilton?
Just going to what has been a really bad afternoon for Sebastian Vettel.
5. He's been already, look, there we go again. So that's the second one he's been through. He's got to get out of the way. Now he's got to...
He gets out of the way very well for both.
Yeah. No, he's not prepared to play.
No, gets out of the way very well indeed for both. To 10.
Been keeping my eyes on the lap times. You can't take your eyes off them. Down to 0.4 of a second. Hamilton's just gaining. He's still got life in these medium tyres, hasn't he? Still got life with them. Won't last forever though. Has to get the job. If it is going to get done, has to get a job soon. Job done soon.
It's half a second. It is half a second between Leclerc and Hamilton, and this is the closest Hamilton's been to Charles Leclerc to have a go into the first chicane. He's already tried once to get past the Ferrari. It didn't end well for the Mercedes. He's going to have a go down into the first chicane. No, he's not. Arriving very late on the... Sebastian Vettel outbreaks himself, and the Williams of George Russell might just get past the Ferrari on the exit of that chicane as we go through the Curva Grande once again. Leclerc ahead of Hamilton, Russell tucked in behind Sebastian Vettel. That's a scrap for 14th. This is the scrap for the leader. Leclerc is holding on to it.
What a nightmare race, Sebastian Vettel. I mean, what struck me there was how well the Ferrari released, how well it took off of Parabolica and his straight line speed. That looked pretty handy to me. He got such good traction.
I need more power, man.
And I think that backs up what you just said there. Throughout this entire race, through the first sector, the Ferrari has been quick, and Hamilton just hasn't quite got the power to basically close up and try and mount an attack. Apex speeds through turn 10, and Hamilton just 1.5 kilometres far. It's down the straights where he's losing out.
So Leclerc then can just take a nice entry into the parabolic and know that it's hurting the Mercedes a little bit behind him and get a good exit, and it's giving him enough breathing space now anyway.
Right, Kevin Magnussen has been passed by Max Verstappen and Lando Norris, but not Pierre Gasly. That's going on behind the rear wing of Max Verstappen. Is Verstappen close enough to Norris? No, he's not. What happened down into the first chicane? Massive lock-up from Kevin Magnussen is what happened there.
That'll need a pit stop for a fresh set of tyres. Alex Albon's doing like he did in Spa last weekend. Starting to have a very good second half of the Grand Prix. He's been across the gravel. He's had a penalty. But suddenly now, he's right up there in 6th place, having made his pit stop.
He's lapping about a second a lap faster than Nico Hülkenberg at the moment. He's got 10.5 seconds to try and make up on the Renault. We're on lap 5 of 53 here. It's the Italian Grand Prix. And that car out in front is the Italian Scuderia Ferrari. Charles Leclerc, who became the 108th different winner of a Formula 1 Grand Prix. Last weekend in Spa, put Monaco on the list of nations, won the World Championship Grand Prix, and he's trying to do something of a London bus here. He waits for a win and then 2 come all at once.
He's actually trying to break the slipstream as well, but this is where I believe the Ferrari is particularly strong. Mercedes challenge in the slipstream of the Ferrari, but Hamilton ever closer this time.
Without DRS, Hamilton be in a position to keep this challenge going. DRS very much coming to Mercedes' assistance so far, but he is just 20 metres, 15 metres. Oh, Leclerc locks up too far behind. Leclerc locks up through the chicane. Hamilton now is right on the rear wing of that Ferrari, and once again to the Curva Grande go, and Hamilton is going to have a go. Which way this time? Wants to go round the outside, has to switch to the inside. Leclerc is making it very difficult indeed by zigzagging from one side to the other of the track, and Hamilton can't force his way past.
He'll have some vibrations as well, Leclerc now. That was a fairly big lock-up. I don't think there's a pit-stopping kind of lock-up, but a little bit naughty there. Leclerc has maintained the lead by scampering across there, leaving bits of curb in his wake. I think he'll just about get away with that. He's already had one warning for his driving, but he's driving for his life out there, isn't he? Trying to keep that Mercedes behind him. The Lone Ranger for Ferrari.
Absolutely, but will the Lone Ranger be outdone by the silver of the Mercedes here this afternoon? And that's Lewis Hamilton's view, with the Ferrari ahead of him and alongside. He wanted to go around the outside. Leclerc switched, forced him to go the long way round in the next chicane. Then Leclerc cuts back over to that.
In the early phases of that, here we go again. In the early phases of that, Lewis was making an adjustment on his steering wheel.
Yeah, retuning into some new radio station. I don't know, but here goes Hamilton.
Some damage to driver. Copy Lewis, we're seeing it.
He doesn't like the way that Charles Leclerc is defending. While all this is happening, Valtteri Bottas, setting fastest laps here, is 3.5 seconds behind the race leader. Bottas is gaining on these two, and while they squabble, Bottas is coming back into play. Now, the stewards have noted that Charles Leclerc missed the apex, and they think he gained a lasting advantage. He was already out in front, of course, when he locked up. He came back out onto the track, in front, so you can argue it either way you want. Hashtag Ask Crofty after the race. We'll enjoy the action as it happens at the moment.
He'll get away with that one, I think, but this is going to be interesting. So Bottas starts cruising in on his 7-lap younger tyres. What are Mercedes going to do? Are they going to, if Lewis can't get the job done on Leclerc, are they going to let Valtteri have a go at him?
Well,
we'll see how that unfolds. You've got to get there first.
The request will come in, surely. No investigation necessary. Say the stewards in that incident between Leclerc and Hamilton when Leclerc missed the apex. As round the parabolica they go. Is Hamilton going to get a good exit? Is Hamilton using DRS? Yes and yes. Can he gain on Charles Leclerc? Probably. Can he get past Charles Leclerc? We'll find out in a moment. As you can see the Ferrari up ahead, and for Lewis Hamilton's sake, sadly for him, he can still see the Ferrari ahead.
No investigation necessary, as we said. So, as long as Leclerc gets off the exit of parabolic and uses his straight line speed advantage, he's got Hamilton covered. What he mustn't do is make mistakes.
Hamilton just needs to keep putting the pressure on, and I assume, hope that he can force Leclerc into another mistake. Striking distance, Valtteri Bottas to Lewis Hamilton in 4 laps. Will Bottas be asking to come past? Surely he will. And to race control.
Yeah, so I've been looking back at that moment in Curva Grande and riding on board Lewis, and
Just keep that pressure on Lewis. You're forcing him into errors.
yeah, so I was going to report that as well, that he's just starting to run out of tyres. He has to make it work soon, and Leclerc just there runs a little bit wide in the Ascari chicane. This might give Lewis a bit more of a chance down into parabolic of that Ferrari being so quick in the straight line. And staying behind it, so that this could be a chance now.
Yeah, he is gaining once again. Mercedes won't care too much if Hamilton's losing tyre life, because if Bottas can then pick up the baton, they can still put Leclerc under pressure. They want to win as a team, of course. Either driver, I'm sure, will do for them.
But once again, Leclerc's got the better car off.
There was some fire, and brakes a little bit too late. He's clearly struggling with those medium tyres, just fading away from him at this stage in the race, and I think Charles has got it covered.
That was Valtteri Bottas's potential opportunity. It's not easy to stop a car from 215 miles an hour to about 80 miles an hour in the space of 100 metres, and there you can see.
And this would have been, don't forget, his first time really braking in the tricky zone where you're in the turbulent air of the car in front, and I think that's how a lot of people were feeling at that stage as you see that chance slip away. But look, you have to give it to Charles, really. He's driven a phenomenal race, and he's got the crowd behind him.
I mean,
you can
look
see
at
them cheering already. Don't wish it on too soon.
Well, I'm not, but just look at the crowd lining at Monza here. When we turned up for work this morning, we could barely get into the track. The queues were absolutely massive, because Ferrari, through this man, won at Spa last week. Ferrari, through this man, won a pole position yesterday in qualifying. There was an expectation from those wearing red, those that have come here, that they would see something special today, and he has not let them down in any way, shape or form.
It's what Ferrari needed, Crofty. He's young, he's feisty, as we're watching riding on board Lewis Hamilton on that fastest lap coming up, fastest middle sector at least.
Well, and he does take the fastest lap with a 1:21.7, so that's a point. So it's a 2-point swing, isn't it?
Exactly. So you need someone like Charles. That's what they've been missing. Just someone young and fight. Doesn't care about the rules. He's just going to go for it and just forget about all that pressure. He's not overthinking it. That's what Ferrari been missing for a little while.
And on the day, Scoffiotti, Regazzoni, Scheckter, Berger, Schumacher, Barrichello, Alonso, Ferrari drivers that have won here at Monza. And this man, Charles Leclerc, is about to add his name to that list, and that means something.
He's got one more tricky braking zone coming up. That's it on this lap into the second chicane. He navigates that Ferrari through well.
Takers available.
To add his name to that list, given the tools to chase after Charles Leclerc, that means something.
Coming up. That's it.
Hubert, and there he is with a tribute to his teammate on his steering wheel. Today he can really enjoy what it feels to win and to be a Grand Prix winner and a Ferrari Grand Prix winner.
I think last weekend he went down in history, winning a race, his first race in Formula One. I think today, at least for Ferrari fans, he's just become one of the legends, and that means so much.
Absolutely. Last time Ferrari won,
there he is with a
this
tribute
man
to his
was winning
teammate
the
on his
Junior Monaco Kart Cup, and he was 12 years old. Not since Fernando Alonso in 2010 have they won here.
Ciao, sono Mattia, oggi sei perdonato, sei tutti noi, bravo.
Grazie mille, grazie a tutti, siete dei grandi. Mamma mia, non ci sono parole. Grazie per tutto, grazie per tutto. Siete i migliori, per sempre.
Grazie a te.
Never knew he was such a fan of Adam. Charles Leclerc celebrating as a Ferrari winner. We mentioned that Lewis Hamilton had got the fastest lap of the race. Lewis Hamilton on the podium for the 6th consecutive year here at Monza, the 8th time in his career. As well, never been third here before, but he has today. We mentioned that Renault take a big haul of points in the Constructors' Championship. They're on 65 points now.
Good job all the weekend. Guys, thank you so much for the hard work. Sorry I wasn't able to put it off.
But boy, did he try. It was
did.
great fun watching. I mean, look, you always want to see any overtake for the lead in Formula 1. Today, I didn't care whether it was a Mercedes overtaking, getting to the lead, or Ferrari doing the overtaking. You just want to see a good race. And I think even without that overtake, it was a good race. Charles took it, like Martin said, right to the limit. I didn't like everything that I saw. He will have some explaining to do to Lewis Hamilton. But look, if you can do this, if you can create this emotion but to the fans like he's done today, I think today the best man really did win.
He might be reigniting the passion for Formula One here in Italy and for Ferrari as well. It doesn't hide the fact that these celebrations should have come earlier in the season. Through no fault of his own, he denied victory, of course, in Bahrain. But better late than never, eh? And it really bodes well for the future.
And I think, look, this was a circuit, as was Spa last weekend. Mercedes are on damage limitation, and Ferrari needed to do what they did there and here. And if you're Sebastian Vettel watching on, I mean, you'd be happy for your team, but it must hurt.
He's not watching. He is not watching. He's actually bent over putting his steering wheel back in, and that's probably quite good for him as Charles Leclerc comes in. As I say, Renault 65 points in the Constructors' Championship. McLaren in 4th now, 83 points. They scored with Lando Norris today. He finished 10th in the end. Antonio Giovinazzi, 9th, Italian point scorer there. His best finish in Formula 1. Verstappen came home to finish 8th behind Sergio Perez. Alex Albon couldn't quite get past Hulkenberg. He had to take 6th. George Russell in the Williams finished 14th in the end. We lost Sainz, Kvyat and Magnussen. There's retirements in this race. A handshake and a well done by the two Mercedes drivers. Charles Leclerc behind them puts his steering wheel back in because protocol and procedure must always be followed in Formula One, and now slaps the cockpit of his scarlet red Ferrari and punches the air in delight before jumping into the arms of his jubilant crew. That is brilliant. Pure sporting joy and emotion. It's a team sport, it's Formula One, and that team on a high in that half of the garage.
No, you are not dreaming, Charles Leclerc. You've just won the Italian Grand Prix wearing that infamous red suit. You are a hero. Enjoy it.
Oh, you certainly will. Ran that hard compound tyre during FP2, of course, and he was quicker than Sebastian Vettel on the medium when they were making the comparisons. So they worked out the strategy. Maybe that was the plan B, to go onto that hard tyre.
It was a brave move, wasn't it, going on the hard tyre?